Welcome to the reading of Promises to Keep by Sharon Robinson. This time, we're going to be reading pages 16 through 19. Please have your book in front of you, open to this page. As we read each page, boys and girls, we'll read the text first, and then we'll stop and go on to the text features, which include photographs and other documents, and read the captions. Let's begin. We're going to start at the top of page 16. The glory of the Harlem Renaissance was short-lived. In 1929, it was replaced by a deep economic depression. Dad was in junior high at the time. He helped his family out by taking odd jobs like delivering newspapers, cutting the neighbor's grass, and selling hot dogs during football games at Pasadena's Rose Bowl. And he endured the problems associated with being poor and fatherless. When he was a teenager, Dad and his friends formed the Pepper Street Gang. They didn't use drugs, drink alcohol, or start fights, but they did throw clumps of dirt at passing cars, swipe golf balls and sell them back to the golfers, and steal fruit from the local grocers. Several key factors helped my dad avoid serious trouble. The first, and most important, was his devotion to his mother and the values she worked hard to instill in him. The second was his love of athletics. Most of Dad's energy went into playing sports. In 1935, he was a star high school football quarterback at Muir Tech, where he also played baseball, basketball, tennis, and held records in track. Dad's older brothers were another big influence on him. He really looked up to Edgar, Frank, and Mac. Dad didn't always understand Edgar's odd behavior, but he admired his love of speed. Edgar's feats on roller skates and his bicycle were legendary. It was said that Edgar could outrace the bus from Pasadena to Santa Monica, a 30-mile trip. Frank was my dad's favorite brother, but Mac became his idol. When Dad was 13, he watched with pride as Mac won a place on the U.S. Olympic track and field team. Mac went to Berlin, Germany for the 1936 Olympic Games. Dad listened to all the track meets on the radio. The U.S. relay team, made up of African-American athletes Jesse Owens, Uncle Mac, Ralph Metcalfe, Johnny Woodruff, and Cornelius Johnson, won the gold medal. By the end of the Olympics, Owens had won 4 gold medals. Mac had won a silver in the 200-meter dash. The 1936 U.S. Olympic relay team's victory was more than a personal athletic triumph. The team won one for humanity. The performances of my uncle and other African-American athletes shattered Nazi leader Adolf Hitler's theory of racial superiority. The Nazis, who rose to power in Germany in the 1930s, believed that select white people known as Aryans were superior to all other races, including blacks and non-Aryan whites. German leader Hitler snubbed Jesse Owens by refusing to shake his hand at the Olympic medal awards ceremony, but Black America and freedom lovers everywhere celebrated this stunning victory over racism. The 1930s saw the rise of other African-American sports heroes. Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, was one of the most admired athletes of the time. On June 22, 1938, the heavyweight champion faced Germany's Max Schmeling in the ring. Like the 1936 Olympics, more than sports records were riding on the outcome. Europe was on the verge of a Second World War. Adolf Hitler gave Schmeling his idea of the ideal, racially pure man, a hero's send-off. Americans counted on Joe Louis to bring them victory. The fight of the century was on. It was as if war had already been declared. Louis knocked out Schmeling in 2 minutes, 4 seconds in round 1. Joyous Americans all over the country, blacks and whites, celebrated in the streets. But the victory party didn't last. The next morning, America woke up still separate and unequal. Before we go on to the next page, boys and girls, let's take a look at the text features. Let's start on page 16. We'll start with the top photograph, and the caption says, "My Uncle Mac," and then that little L in parentheses means the left, and then "my father," which would be Sharon's father, Jackie Robinson, in the middle, and "my grandmother, Mally," at 121 Pepper Street, Pasadena. Underneath, we have Mac Robinson trains for the 1936 Olympics. And then going across to page 17, we have, you probably could guess, it looks like a newspaper article here. It says Joe Louis's KO, which would mean knockout, of Max Schmeling was headline news all over, as shown on this front page of a Cleveland, Ohio newspaper. And it says, "Joe Louis wins. Champion scores knockout in first. Avenges defeat." And then it looks like there's another one that says, "Cleveland goes wild as news of victory flashes over radio." Scenes at 55th and Central. Fans celebrate Louis's victory. But of course, Sharon Robinson's sentence here, the last one on the page, it says, "But the victory party didn't last. The next morning, America woke up, still separate and unequal." So let's see what happens next. It sounds like things still didn't improve. We have a title at the top of page 18 that says, "A Determined Pair." And it says, after graduating from high school in 1937, Dad attended Pasadena Junior College, PJC, where he continued to build his sports legacy. 2 important people came into his life at this point: a sprinter named Jack Gordon and a young preacher by the name of Reverend Carl Downs. Jack and my dad shared a love of sports and developed a close friendship that lasted a lifetime. The minister earned the respect of Dad and his friends. They soon learned that they could trust him with their problems. The Reverend Downs helped guide my father into manhood. At PJC, my father set a national junior college record in track by beating his brother Mac's broad jump record. One newspaper called my father the greatest base runner ever to play on a junior college baseball team. That same newspaper named Dad Athlete of the Year. His exploits on the football field added to the legend. The Pasadena Elks gave Dad a gold football and named him Most Valuable Player. Needless to say, the college scholarship offers piled in. Dad chose to continue his education at the University of California at Los Angeles, UCLA. The summer before Dad attended UCLA was a tough one. His mother moved into a smaller house at 133 Pepper Street, leaving the house at 121 Pepper Street to her grown children. That same year, Dad's brother Frank was tragically killed in a motorcycle accident. In spite of the personal loss, Dad started at UCLA in the fall of 1939. He commuted by car from Pasadena to UCLA, where he once again lettered in 4 sports. By senior year, he was named the best all-around athlete on the West Coast. He twice led the Pacific Coast Conference in basketball scoring, won the Pacific Coast Intercollegiate Golf Championship, and reached the National Negro Tennis Tournament semifinals. But perhaps the most significant thing to happen to my dad that year was meeting Rachel Annetta Issam, my mom. My parents met on UCLA's campus in the fall of 1940. Mom was an eager freshman, just thrilled to be in college. Dad was a mighty senior, stunning athlete, and big man on campus. Mom was attracted to Dad immediately. She liked his warm, engaging smile and the fact that he was confident without being cocky. In the 1940s, black students at UCLA were a very small minority. Each day, between classes, they gathered in Kirchhoff Hall to eat and talk. This is where my mother and father met frequently and then began to date. My parents were serious people with strong personal goals. Each wanted to be somebody. Mom wanted to be the first in her family to earn a college degree. Dad wanted to be a professional athlete. As the romance between my parents heated up, so did America's preparation for World War II, which lasted from 1939 to 1945. As African Americans protested against their exclusion from the growing defense industry, Dad proposed to my mom. Not long after President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed an executive order banning discrimination in all plants working on national defense contracts, my father was drafted into the United States Army. It was still segregated. So let's take a look at the text features on these two pages. Here we have an awesome vertical picture of, it says, my father lettered in 4 sports at UCLA. And remember, when she says my father, this is written from Sharon Robinson's point of view. So this is Jackie Robinson. And on page 17, we see a picture of Mom. It says, Mom studied nursing at UCLA while Dad served in the Army. She graduated in 1945. And then we have another vertical picture. It says Dad's favorite sport in college was football. And we usually think of Jackie Robinson playing baseball, but here we have him playing basketball and football. When it says he lettered in 4 sports at UCLA, it means that he was very good at them and he was on the team and received varsity letters, which means that he was in a pretty competitive grouping. Well, that sums it up for pages 16 through 19. Thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you in class tomorrow.